So, welcome everybody. I hope you can hear me. My presentation actually ties really very nicely to the synopsis presentation that I just held. Also, the one this morning from Gregory about crypto nicely builds up to my presentation. So, what I will be talking about, everything is about security. I will not do the crypto lecture. We had that this morning. What is crypto? Getting some plain text or plain information and hide it or protect it. So let's look at the IoT. This is an IoT session. We provide also dedicated secure IP for IoT devices, and the presentation is about why. Why would you need to do this? Because adding more logic adds cost, potentially, obviously has more power consumption. So let's look at that. So IoT, what is that? Everything. So could be your home, could be automotive, could be wearables, smart manufacturing, smart grid. And why security? Because it's going to be attacked, for sure. And for example, one of the attackers' ideas is, okay, just take control. Your garage door or unlock your car. This is happening today. Control the manufacturing process. This needs to be protected. Other aspects is stealing information. So spying, the surveillance cameras, hacking the payments, maybe infotainment systems. So sometimes it's protecting your own data, sometimes it's protecting somebody else's content, especially in like infotainment where videos are attacked or hacked, if you will. And now obviously probably everybody here has seen the Jeep video on YouTube where through the infotainment system first simply the wipers went on, but throughout that let's say 5 to 10 minute video you saw that they actually were able to take over the complete car. Something really has gone wrong there, and that ties into compromising of the safety. Obviously if you can hack into this one, if it's not done properly, you have total control over all or some of the ECUs. And again, maybe stop the energy supply. So again, that's the third attack possibility and why security is important. Disrupting of services, denial of services. Today, obviously known a lot for just attacking websites with the DDoS, but in IoT, the same will happen. So in the end, an enormous amount of threats. And what we obviously believe already for a long time, starting in networking and communications and then in mobile and now in IoT, there are solutions. And let's look at what these solutions are. So obviously it adds cost, it adds gates, it probably consumes a bit more power, but we also believe that security will boost the IoT market. So it can actually add value to a solution. First of all, to the device makers. Accelerate business growth, reinforce corporate image, and in the end, become a competitive advantage. Added value for service providers, because it's not going to all be about the devices. Probably most of the money will be made in the services. So make sure that also there is added value for the service providers. So new business models like security as a service. And then for the end users, obviously we know for a long time that end users actually are not so keen in paying extra. You can still see it today, how many people are actually paying for their antivirus on their laptops. So for end users, it must be transparent and it must drive trust. It does not, it should not make it like introduce like login procedures to go into your washing machine. Obviously, the user does not want to know. The only thing it wants, can I trust it? And then they will use it, and then the service provider guys, they will make their money. Internet of Everything. Internet of Things, it's really everything. So it's not only the endpoints, the smart objects and the devices that you need to protect. Obviously, typically it's going to be routed through gateways and routers and in the end to servers. So where to protect? each device and how to protect. Each device connects with its own security requirements. We already have seen also battery-less devices like NFC operated, but in the end they communicate either over some wired or wireless protocol. It could be Bluetooth, low energy, NFC, anything there. And each and every one of those has different aspects, could be attacked at a different methodology or level, and should be then protected accordingly. So all these devices of different natures have their specific constraints. Sometimes, like gateways, typically these are powered. They probably will aggregate more than one connection, so they need also to be more powerful. Let's look at the attackers, attack vectors. So I have a graph here, the cost of the attack and device accessibility. And if you look, obviously, at the system level, attacking a device is really the easiest. If you could access it at the system level, then the cost is obviously the lowest. But once you start integrating, obviously, the security and making sure that even at the chip level, at the SoC level, you can actually make sure that everything is secure. So meaning that there's no communication to DDR of material that should not be compromised. And then you see that at least the cost of attacks go up. At the device level or at the system level, it could be software attacks where we are protecting against or where we're fighting against. At the chip level, and obviously this is not going to be the light bulb. At the chip level, it's really laser attacks, delaminating, focused ion beam, and that's what you see today in smart cards and in payment terminals like point of sales. So IoT, since it's everything, you probably in automotive you see more protection required there, and in light bulbs you see probably less protection really embedded in hardware, but still you need security. Looking at a complete security architecture. In order to protect an IoT system, it's not just about cryptography. What are we actually needing to protect? So these are based on 4 corners. First is the device itself. Can you trust the device before you allow it on your network? And that could be the light bulb, that could be the lighting fixtures in smart building, could be heating systems or the ECUs in a car. Before these devices actually log onto the network, make sure you can authenticate it. Obviously, when the device stores sensitive data, could be just the identity of the device, could be some sensitive information, make sure that it cannot be compromised, so protect the data at rest. So there must be some storage solution that is secure. When the device communicates, how you prevent that intrusions are not happening, how you prevent that nobody's spying on it. So that's protecting the data in transit. And finally, the device itself, how can you make sure if this all is present, that the device keeps on operating like it. So things like securely booting and then secure execution. So these 4 components need to be available in a full protected device. And that's not even IoT. It would naturally be any device. So let's look at 3 security implementations. So this brownish box, the IoT device, you'll see your processor, you'll see your sensors, your power management. Maybe there is some entry device being available. Obviously connectivity and the memory where the code resides. This is an implementation where you can have your security in software. So this is what we probably envision the light bulb, the dumb light bulb will be. Just a small microcontroller, but at least the software running on it, the software handling those 4 components could be secure software. That's encryption software, but also the software itself can be made in a secure way. So pure software only solution, and then obviously the lowest cost. Not necessarily the lowest energy consumption, but for sure the lowest cost. On the far end of the spectrum, you could actually add a secure element device into the IoT device. So that's adding a chip. Adding a chip brings extra cost, and that could be like smart card grade security. And that's the other end of the spectrum. So you have a super secure solution, but still you need to find a way to make sure that whatever happens here is able to use it. So you need a secure communication protocol. This is quite costly. This is available today, and obviously this is available today. And there is something in between, and this was where we believe IoT is going. It's all about integration, just one piece of silicon. So what does that mean? The secure software for sure will still reside there, but as I will show in the subsequent slides, you'll actually need to anchor this technology inside the SoC. Now, anchoring means just take the design and put it inside your SoC. And then the question is, and this is more based on, okay, what is the application area? How robust does this hardware need to be? Does it need to be smart card grade security? Probably not for IoT, so you can actually save some cost there. Looking at what Inside Secure has to offer. For starters, we provide these chips. We provide on these chips secure operating systems. So these chips are in the form of secure microcontrollers, and we have secure operating system. And secure in this case means robust. If you glitch the device, if you do fault injection, the OS will not degrade for it. So it will have an enforced data flow, an enforced program flow. It will never go off chip, all these kind of things. And today you'll see secure OSs on banking cards, on passports, payment application, transportation cards. But in IoT, they could definitely benefit from it. Obviously, communication that's typically in the form of toolkits could be a full software solution or could be hardware assisted. Hardware assisted in IoT sounds kind of funny because typically you do it for performance increase. But if you have an IoT device that's like a sensor that only sends 1 kilobit blocks maybe every hour, you don't need the hardware solution for performance. But you may want to need it for energy preservation. So that's why hardware IP cores can actually help out there. So if you would to summarize that, all these threats that exist, like denial of service, spoofing identities, privacy, so data disclosure, elevation of privilege, like you're in user mode, become an administrator or in service mode, repudiation, data tampering, spying, that can actually be countered with solid solutions. And it's always a combination of hardware, system software, application software. So if you translate the threats into like keywords, what you should be specifying in your requirements as security needs, you'll translate it into like, okay, device authentication. And you can only authenticate the device properly if you can prove the identity. So you need a root of trust. So there is some OTP, some NVM, some flash on board where you can actually inject a secret identity of the device. And with that secret identity, you can actually start doing device authentication. So you can trust the device. With that, on that further foundation, you can have all these other techniques like secure booting, secure debugging, secure updates, device integrity. And that translates in a bunch of solutions branded by Inside Secure. And especially for this audience, the hardware IP cores, which I will elaborate a bit more, are good examples there. So with these products, there are some benefits. Obviously secure application tools where you can actually harden the software implementation to make a regular OS into a secure OS. You can actually build what is host card emulation, like payment systems, whenever required. And then the optimized IP. in the end resulting obviously in security, high performance, relatively high, high enough for the application, low power, cost optimized. Looking at an example, pre and post security module. So look at an IoT device with an SoC, and I guess the synopsis guy will say, what's with this bus? I just told you there is no bus. But for an example, let's keep the bus in. So you're looking here at that same IoT device. There is a CPU in there is the memory, and there is some OTP. I would say the simplest device you can imagine, the most low cost. So whenever you need to do one of the protection mechanisms, when you need to execute them, okay, there is software crypto in there, and that software crypto needs to crypt something, needs to encrypt or decrypt or authenticate. So what does it mean? It needs some data, and most important, it needs the key. So what needs to happen, that secret identity that is available in OTP could be shielded from the CPU, but before your software solution can actually use that key in some form needs to end up there. And what happens then is obviously now that key is in the open. As far as I'm concerned, it's that you have your door lock, the best lock you can ever buy, and you put the key next to it or under some flower pot. So what is the solution to that? So we believe an example is to take that secure element ID and technology. We call it Vault IP, Vault as in a lockbox. It's a small piece of IP that actually takes that cryptographic function, handles it. So now you have crypto peripherals, but instead of adding crypto peripherals here that still need to get their key handed off by the application, in this case, the OTP is inside that module, and whenever some crypto needs to happen, that key will be handed off to that hardware module. So what happens, the applications, and even there is some security software there, they just use the key by proxy. They will never see the key, they don't have to worry about the key. So things like cache management, when some pages are moved into DDR, maybe the key will move into the DDR. Here is of no concern because there is a hardware firewall in between the SoC bus and that Vault IP. So as a kind of a summary, that Vault IP module, which is an EIP, or which is a hardware IP module in Verilog source code with test benches and synthesis scripts following, let's say, the regular, I would say, design in reuse model for you to include in your SoC design. It increases security. It increases it compared to the software implementation by providing an isolated environment for these crypto functions, and in the end by handling the key material. So what it does, it protects that key, and this is, don't forget, this is not a single key, because cryptography rules say you should never use one key for multiple applications, you should never use an immutable key for regular crypto. There is like a whole cookbook of key derivation schemes that you need to use. And typically that's then done by the software. In this case, it's done by this module. So all your keys for your needs. That could be the keys owned by the SoC manufacturer. Could be the keys later on injected by the OEM. Could be the keys even later on in the process injected by the service provider. They all end up in that lockbox. So as a summary, obviously IoT is an emerging and fragmented market. Obviously Apple has their ecosystem, Google has their ecosystem, then you have open interconnect. Today there is no golden standard for crypto, there's no golden standard for security. So by now we have to use what we have learned in networking, what we have learned in mobile, make it, tailor it for IoT, and make sure that it's suitable for those solutions. And that's what we have been doing. So important to understand the risks in IoT. Think of that first slide. In the end, all IoT devices need their security. There is no unique solution to fit all. I still believe, and in the panel later on I'll talk about it some more, that software could be the security solution that you need. So not necessary to add hardware. Nothing new for IoT, obviously. The device architecture will be impacted following the security solution. So start with your architecture, start with the security first, not as an afterthought. And again, nothing new. Security features must be considered early in the design process. And then in the end, security is not a burden and solution exists. So a lot of things went wrong in set-top boxes, a lot of things went wrong in networking, in mobile. You still see there was a news item earlier this week that Netflix and Amazon, their 4K video ends up in torrents. So somehow that content protection again is not protected very well. So let's make sure that IoT, which is much more disruptive than somebody stealing a video, that is not compromised. Thank you.